Hey guys, welcome to Whiskey and Literature. I'm your host, Captain Mike. I'm excited about tonight because we're welcoming back to the channel, Mrs. Captain.
Hi, nice to be back.
Glad to have you. You've been on for a couple of videos. Yeah. We've done the book video, Wuthering Heights, I think it was. Yep. And then we did the Absinthe Finished Dry.
And the last one was the Lychee Finished Dry.
Lychee Finished Dry.
It was very good.
That was so good.
Yep.
A lot of people is getting some hate on the internet, but I really enjoyed that Whistle Pig Lychee. Super strong Lychee notes.
Yeah, very sweet.
We like the Lychee, and if we're saying that right, honestly, I don't know. Doesn't matter. Yeah, it still tastes great. So typically, I'm back here drinking whiskey, and you're in the front drinking wine. Yep. You don't drink a whole lot of whiskey.
No, it's not my thing.
I share a lot of my whiskey with you. You'd like to sip it, maybe?
Yep. I'll take the tastes. I don't mind going to a distillery and having a little taste here and there. I just don't prefer to sit down with a glass of whiskey unless it's mixed with a Coke or has some Lychee in it, maybe.
There you go. Well, tonight is also something in your wheelhouse, and when I bought this bottle, I knew that we'd have to do this video again together. So let's talk about the wine and the whiskey, the specs and the stats, and then get it.
Okay, so the wine is a Carter Cellars a Cabernet Sauvignon. It is from Napa Valley, California. It is a 2021, and I believe it is, it's called the Haze. And it is 15.2% ABV. Any other stats?
I paid $95 for that.
That's right, $95, and he had to buy it on the website because locally we weren't able to find this winery. Okay, so in a Cabernet, it is a dry red. It wasn't one of my first go-to wines. It took me a while to get used to Cabernet.
It's definitely not a gateway wine, would it?
No.
Like if you didn't drink wine before and your first was a Cabernet?
Well, actually, one of my first tastes of wine was a Cabernet.
Oh.
And I was turned off. It's acidic and it's dry, so it's not sweet. And but then I learned the best way to enjoy a Cabernet is with food. You know, you go to a nice restaurant and you ask, you know, what wine goes well with this food. Cabernet with a good beef meal is very, very tasty. So lots of red fruit notes, spice, and acidity. That's about all I ever get out of a cab. So, but I enjoy it now more. I've learned because I've been drinking wine more. I started more with the whites, quickly moved to the dries, the dry wines, and now I can sit down with a cab without food and enjoy it. So I'm really enjoying the smell.
It is super powerful to smell.
Yeah, so I'm excited to taste it.
I was just pouring them in here and it's just the whole room lit up like Cabernet. I definitely drink Cabernet when we're out.
Yes.
And we're eating a nice meal somewhere. And this was $95.
Yeah.
Typically, what do you spend for a Cabernet?
Oh, I'm in the 30, that's high. Like $35 would be high for me to buy a wine. Maybe on a special occasion I might go to $50, but typically not 95,
So I bought this wine for a specific reason, and let's talk about why we bought this Carter Cellars Cabernet, because tonight we have the Bardstown Bourbon Company collaborative series Carter Cellars. And the collaborative series from Bardstown Bourbon Company, let's read from the website. It says, the collaborative series celebrates the art of finishing, working with respected producers of beer, wines, and spirits by aging fine whiskey in their barrels to create truly unique products. So that's essentially what almost all distilleries are doing these days.
Yes.
Finishing whiskeys. It's really a big thing, and some guys really poo-poo the finished whiskeys. Yeah. I'm a big fan of finished whiskeys. High West, they do a huge amount of finished whiskeys. We have Cabernet finished. We do. High West, Chardonnay, Brandy, Sauterne, whatever that wine is. Port finished, of course.
Yes.
A ton of different. So Whistle Pig is finished, and we have the Distiller's Share #2 by Jim Beam, and that was finished in Courvoisier. Yes. So typically, like with the High West, where they're finished in different wines and whatnot. Like when we bought the Kentucky Pure, let's go to that one. Kentucky Pure absinthe finished.
Yes.
We don't know what absinthe they used to finish that rye in, but we had never tasted absinthe. So we bought absinthe to know what notes when we're drinking the rye we're looking for. And we've done that numerous times. Like we never had sherry or brandy. So we bought those things, but only in a couple times do we know exactly what the wine or what that whiskey was finished in. One of those times was the Distiller's Share by Jim Beam. Number 2, it's finished in Courvoisier cognac. And I'd never had cognac, so we bought some Courvoisier cognac, and so we could know what notes we're looking for in that American single malt. Another one is, of course, the High West, and I think you're going to come in for that video as well.
Yes.
Because High West was bought by Constellation Brands, which owns Prisoner Wine. So High West has a Prisoner Share, which is finished in the Prisoner Red Blend. We also have the Prisoner Wine Complicit, which is finished in High West whiskey barrels. So I'm excited. We're going to have like 4 bottles here, big High West, Prisoner Wine.
Because, High West is good, obviously. We like High West.
Definitely.
And I enjoy the Prisoner Share wine. It's very good.
Well, the Prisoner Share we haven't had, but the Prisoner Wine,
Right, the Prisoner brand.
Just clearly. We haven't opened our Prisoner Share yet. And that was a chore to get to the house here because Kurt bought it, gave it to Lori, she drove it down to you, and then you flew it home to me.
Yeah,
so
it had a journey.
Yeah, that was great. But, okay, so Bardstown Bourbon Company, Collaborative Series, Carter Cellars. This is a blend of 3 American straight whiskeys, finished for 14 months in the Carter Cellars Cabernet barrels. The 3 whiskeys in this bottle are, we have a Tennessee whiskey, which is 49% of the blend in here, 17 years old. It's an 84% corn, 8% rye, and 8% malted barley. So then we have a Kentucky bourbon, which is 41% of the blend, and the glasses are coming on, and that's a 12-year-old bourbon, 78% corn, 10% rye, and 12% malted barley. And last up, 10% of the blend is an Indiana rye, 6 years old. It's a 95.5 rye from Indiana, MGP, anyone. We're very familiar with that 95.5 rye. It's in the High West Smoke Wagon.
It's very good.
We like the high rye ryes, and I think that's a good one. Happy to drink a Kentucky style rye as well, but those, anyway, the high rye ryes are pretty good. This is bottled at a nice 108.3 proof. I went to Kentucky recently and I bought 11 bottles. This was the most expensive bottle that I bought, $159.99. So pretty excited. I'm happy to get into this one. Wow, I feel like I might have smelled that cab coming out of there as well.
I love the color of it.
It is very rich, isn't it?
Yep.
I drank a scotch a couple nights ago and it's just so light. Like it's so much as like light straw. This is such a rich.
It's like mahogany.
Yeah, rich. Man, I'm gonna say deep amber. I mean, it's got a lot of red, I would say, into it. I mean, it's very, you know.
I mean, it's whiskey.
It's whiskey,
sure, but it's darker.
Darker. So I think we should drink the wine first, and then get into the whiskey.
Okay.
So. Man, it does really smell good.
Cheers.
Cheers. Wow. Cheers, guys. That is super rich looking. Gosh, are you supposed to swirl it first?
I don't know what the rules are. I do smell my wine before I drink it, but I've been smelling it this whole.
We put this in the fridge for a little while, not too much. It's been sitting in the glass here for half an hour, probably. Yeah. Really, I mean, you can't even see the light through this one. Like it's so dark. Like
that's pretty normal, I think.
Is it?
For a cab? Yeah. Cab's very rich.
Whiskey drinkers used to seeing light through the
okay. Well, now I'm going to have to try and do that on other. That is tasty.
Well, don't they say you're supposed to look at it first and then sniff it and then sip it? Right?
So he, you know, him and his whiskey, he's definitely learned the craft more than I have on my wine. I know more than a lot of my friends do.
You do.
But I haven't gotten all the way down to the nitty-gritty.
Nitty-gritty.
Yeah.
If you haven't noticed, there's some paraphernalia in the background right now. There's a Book of Mormon behind us. We grew up Mormons for a very long time. So we've only been drinking 4 or 5 years. Yeah. So it's been a great journey. We've really enjoyed it. We've gotten in trouble a couple times, but mostly being responsible and having a great time with it. And it's one of the things that I think Mormons really miss out on. So
It's enjoyable.
yeah, it's a good time. And this wine, if every wine tasted like this, I might drink more wine. Those fruits I think are super rich. It's very I think it's a very viscous, much more viscous I think than a lot of the whiskeys that I drink.
Oh yeah,
You know,
for sure.
Yeah, it's just great.
Yeah. I guess I should try and get to the point where I can pick out the notes in my wine better.
That just makes it kind of fun, I think,
Yeah.
when you're, and I think when I take a whiskey to you in the front room and I say, hey, try this one, and I think you actually do really well picking out the different notes in that.
Yeah, I've gotten definitely much better.
I think a lot of it is to do with inception. You know, if I say,
True.
you taste a banana in this one, or you taste whatever.
Well, I like the fact that he can hand me a whiskey and I can tell him if it's a rye versus a bourbon, if it's a scotch, which is not my favorite.
Yeah, nice peaty scotch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, this is very good.
Yeah, I approve. I guess it should be.
It's not really heavy. Like it's not
No.
like it's not overwhelmingly dry. I mean, it is dry. It's not sweet. I don't think at all.
No, but I don't think it's very acidic. Like, or a bad acidic.
Okay.
Like,
I think it's very balanced. There's nothing wrong with this glass.
yeah, that's very good.
And for the record, I don't know exactly that this Bardstown Bourbon Company was finished in the
this one.
haze.
Yeah.
So if you go to Carter Cellars website, they have a lot of different Cabernets, and I bought the cheapest one that they had in stock, and it was $95. They had a couple that were in the several $100s.
Maybe we'll have to try some of those.
I would love to find them here in town, and I think
True.
that's it's great. I think to occasionally splurge on a nice wine.
Special occasion.
Special occasions. Okay. So Bardstown Bourbon Company, high corn bourbons is the majority, and 10% is a high rye. 14 months in this.
And this.
What do you think about the nose? I saw you going in already.
Yeah.
Wow. I think
Smells good.
Smells so good. But do I smell Cabernet in there? Definitely some alcohol. I went in there a little
for
bit.
Sure. I'm not even sure if I smell the rye.
I thought the rye would be actually
Stronger, or is it there?
Just underlined, but you're right. That corn is,
Yeah.
and the bourbon is just running over. I think in some respects the rye.
It smells sweet. So whenever I smell sweet on
Yeah,
something he hands me, I know that that's
I thought that 10% 95.5 rye would have a greater impact, but maybe on the palate. Again, it's really nice, rich looking.
I think oftentimes with a rye, it'll be on the finish. And I'm not good at
No.
judging the.
Are you supposed to swirl it and look at the legs and judge the whiskey
Oh,
on
if
the
it's
legs?
viscous or oily
Yeah.
or whatever.
I mean, the legs run down pretty quickly. There are a lot of legs. 108 proof, so I think that's nice. I expect really good things from this. 17-year-old bourbon is almost half of it.
I'm gonna do another
Yeah.
drink of this and then
You
taste it.
You do you. If all bourbon and whiskey, it's not bourbon, I guess. If all whiskeys smelled like that, there would be a lot more whiskey drinkers in the world.
Yeah.
God, that is really good smelling. That is a fantastic wine. This smells so nice. I'm going in.
I bet the proof of this though would get some people.
Yes, 108 I think is really good. Like
Okay.
it's enough to give some body, some viscosity, so a little bit of oomph to the whiskey, but
Okay.
not so much you're having a
Just
glass.
Ethanol.
And yeah, I mean, God, remember that Grand Traverse, the first.
Oh.
I think it's really matured as it's been open for a while. I really enjoy it now.
Okay.
But the first few, I'm like just drinking jet fuel.
Yeah.
Like is what it tasted like to me.
I wasn't a fan.
No. But it's grown on me. But even those high proof Jack Daniels and a couple other whiskeys,
Yeah.
man, if you're not careful, they'll lay you out. But 100 to 110, I think is a really, really nice proof.
Okay.
108, almost perfect.
I'm excited then.
Cheers again.
Cheers.
I thought perhaps the cab would be more influential. Actually, maybe right there at the end, I'm really getting those fruits in the end. First, I just got some of that sweetness and the proof.
Yeah.
Like, it's really kind of hitting me. But underlying that, I was getting those fruits that are coming through at the end for me.
Okay. I don't know yet.
Okay.
I know that when I do taste a whiskey, the first couple of sips, it's like I have to keep tasting it. Get past the proof.
God, that smells so good.
Now I know, like when we had, I think one of the first ones that was a blend was port finished.
Okay.
And that you could taste.
Well, we had the High West, like one of the very first bottles that we bought was the High West Midwinter Night's Dram.
Right.
Like a long time ago.
That's right.
That was back when we were in Vegas and we were just
like 20.
And we were just barely drinking. That might have been 2019.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, because we went up to the distillery.
Yes.
And I bought that bottle there at the distillery for $115.
Okay.
I had no idea what I was buying.
No.
Took it home and you drank it all.
Yes, I did. I finished it.
I went to work and I came home from work
Accidentally.
and the bottle was empty. I was like, are you kidding me? But you redeemed yourself. You ordered a bottle off the internet.
I got him a new one. I paid way too much for it.
I got a brain fart there. I thought, well, we were in Utah. How could you order in Utah? But we were in Vegas.
We were in Vegas.
So,
Yep.
unfortunately, you cannot order High West to Florida. No. Okay, so what are your thoughts on the whiskey there? I think it smells great. I think there is just a little bit of ethanol on the nose, but it's sweet, but there's also a deepness and a richness to it, and just a hint of spice.
Yeah, I enjoy the smell. Okay, I think I enjoyed that taste better.
Okay. Again, I think it's sweet up front.
Yeah, it's like
And then
bourbon.
Just a bourbony sweetness.
Okay.
Right? There's caramels, there's deep sugars, and then that spice hits a little bit. It's still tingling just a bit for me. It's a proof.
And
We have a 17-year-old and a 12-year-old bourbon in here.
True.
So a little bit of, there's some oakiness in there for sure. And now I think those fruits and that dryness comes out. Like it's finishing for me dry.
Dry.
It's not not sweet on the finish at all.
Yeah, it's definitely the smell and the first taste is the sweetness.
So you're not a bourbon drinker, but if I gave you, a glass of this, could you sip on this till it was gone?
I think so.
Are you going to pour that into my glass when we're video cameras off, or
No.
are you going to finish
No,
it?
I think I can finish this.
Nice.
It has enough of a spiciness to it because I like the rye.
Yes, I think that rye wasn't coming through on the nose, but it's coming through on the palate for sure, and it's balancing out, that dryness and the sweetness. Can you be dry and sweet? I guess you are, because it's sweet up front, dry on the end, and it balances out nicely with the spice.
I mean, the more whiskey videos I watch and listen to, heck, it can
Be everything.
start out this way, it finishes that way. On this part of the tongue, it tastes this way.
Some whiskeys, they start and they finish. It's all kind of
All this.
just a couple of notes all the way through, and some are just crazy different. I had one and it was pepper, pepper, pepper all the way through, but other notes accompanying it as on the nose and then on the palate. But there was always a pepper thread through there, and obviously there's not on this one.
No.
Or I'm not picking up a pepper on this one, but there's just enough rye spice to balance out everything else. But how do you think about the Cabernet? Are you picking up anything besides some fruitiness?
I don't think so. I wonder though, because it smells so, I think it smells sweet. People who haven't had dry wines would not think this was sweet, but I think it smells
People who've not had red wines.
So there's a lot of people that don't like dry wines. They like the sweeter wines. So I don't know if they would think this was sweet. But one of my good friends, she's been a cab drinker for years. So I'd be interested to see what she thought of this. But I think it smells a little sweet. And I wonder too if the sweet in the whiskey There's a little bit of that, of the fruitiness.
Wow, went in too deep there. Too deep.
Unless that's just the bourbon.
Well, it was in there for 14 months. So I think it does have some influence on the whiskey.
Right.
I think it influences the color, though some of that's the age. You got a 17-year-old, which is, I think, which plays into the cost of the bottle.
Okay.
I mean, a 17-year-old bourbon and
Okay.
a 12-year-old bourbon are both,
They're old.
yeah, old. It's pretty good.
And I was thinking that was all just because of the wine, but I get that.
No, that definitely influences it as well. You know, like, okay, so the High West, I don't mean to keep going back to them, but the High West, Prisoner Share, and the Complicit makes sense because Constellation Brands owns both them.
Right.
You know, Bardstown Bourbon Company, you know, as far as I know, there's no collaboration or there's no ownership tree between these two. It's just a collaboration for this one series, which,
Okay.
you know, so I think that's great. And I would imagine Carter Cellars gets some kickbacks from these bottles.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know.
Well, I enjoy it.
Yeah, I think it's a great whiskey. 108 proof, great viscosity. I think it's a nice mouthfeel. I think it leaves and it lingers for a long time. I don't really get a lot of warming. I'm not feeling like that proof right now.
Right.
It's just right there, just the right amount of heat.
Yeah,
and
like you
warmth.
were saying, that I was worried about the proof, but no, it's not a problem.
It might sneak up on you. Now, 15.2% on the wine.
That's actually very high.
That's pretty high, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay, so in conclusion, $159. That's a pretty expensive bottle of whiskey, $95 for the wine.
Yeah.
But I think that is a great whiskey.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I will finish this.
I'm actually happy to pay $159 for this bottle.
Okay.
And I think if you can find it, if you're in Kentucky and you go to Bardstown Bourbon Company, when I go to distilleries, I enjoy doing the tours. Pretty much now I know how whiskey is made for the most part, at least the basics of how you get from, you know, the grains to the bottle. But really I enjoy going to distilleries to see what do you have that I can't buy locally. That's what I ask when I go to the stores at distilleries. What do you have here in this store at the distillery that I can't buy in Tampa? Because there's no sense in going to Kentucky. I see guys on Facebook sometimes. They're like, oh man, look at all the bottles I bought in Kentucky. And I'm like, dude, half those bottles you could have bought a Total Wine down the street here.
Yeah.
And you just flew back with them or drove them. You know, to each their own. It's cool and it's fun to just go to Kentucky. But I love distilleries to know, and I have quite a few bottles that are, you know, distillery only. And I think that's great. And I'm super happy to have this one. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
No.
Thanks for joining with me.
That's good. Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to doing the High West one here with you in a little while.
And these are definitely different than, say, like the absinthe finish or the lychee. Like, I feel like these don't, when they're finished in a wine, it's different.
Yeah.
It doesn't take it over. It just, I think it just enhances it.
Agree. Like that absinthe finish rye, I thought was awesome.
Oh, yes, for sure.
It was fun.
But you could taste it. Like
this, I think you're right. We have 3 excellent whiskeys that are made better by the finishing process. And I'll even say more mature and better. But it doesn't, I thought there would be a little more influence of the cab taste, and there's not. It's just a nice more roundness. Is that good English? Nice more roundness to the whiskey from the Carter Cellars Cabernet.
Hey, I like it. Mix our two worlds.
Mrs. Captain approved, guys.
Yes,
so
approved.
I would say if you have room and you have the budget and you can see this on the shelf, pick one up and take it home. All right. Thanks again for joining with me.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Okay.
All right, my guys, if you enjoyed the video, like it, it's free. Subscribe to see more of my content. I do both whiskey and book reviews. But for now, my friends, you know what to do. I hope you're reading something good and drinking something great. Turn those pages and stay thirsty. Cheers.
Cheers.